Hey everybody, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome to this is going to be a Saturday conversation with our good friend, Dr. Lena Rodriguez from Tarot Down Under. Welcome back, Dr. Lena.
Thank you. And thank you so much for organizing these monthly conversations. I think they're
Well,
fabulous. I hope other people enjoy them.
they feed you and me, but I know that the viewers also really are enjoying this collab. So
Great.
thank you for agreeing to it. And
Mm.
it definitely feeds my spirit as well.
Yeah.
So there's so much to talk about, you all. Where do we begin? So I thought that I'd tell a little story. So, and then we can jump into
hmm
we go from that. So one of my hats that I've worn most of my life is that I've done college consulting, which means that I help kids get into top elite American university. I've done this in Asia, done this in the States, I've done it forever, and it's just a thing I'm good at.
Yeah.
But I kind of have hung up my hat on that. I didn't want to do it anymore. Then I got approached by a parent who's really pushing me to work with her student. So I've reluctantly said, well, we'll see, let me meet him first. But it brings up the whole college thing.
Mm.
Uh, my viewers will know that I have really been happy about my alma mater's stance, which is Harvard, against the administration. And then
Mm.
I was crushed when it looked like they were starting to kind of
Yeah.
wobble
Stand up.
a little bit.
And then yeah.
Well, so I wrote a letter to the president, whatever. And of course, he writes me back. I didn't know we were on a first name basis, but apparently signed it Alan. Okay. And
Mm.
said, no, our commitment, it was one of those letters that they sent
Mm.
thousands of people. And I'm in groups and on committees that are trying to help Harvard stay upright, you know,
Oh,
through through letter writing, through the where we put our money, all of that. But at any rate, 47, the anti-intellectual that he is, hates universities, he's using anti-Semitism, of course, as his
mm.
smokescreen because
Yeah.
he doesn't care about Jews. Um, and I just saw that Brown University is the latest to fold, huge money damages that they have to pay, as well as they have to promise to tell the government the ethnicity, the race, the test scores, and uh, the grades of every one of their applicants.
Mm.
So, because we no longer, of course, have DEI, the term still floats around, right? And
Mm.
what it's going to mean is that a Black student, let's say, is going to have to try to prove a negative. They're going to have
Yeah.
to try to prove that they're not a DEI
Mm.
admit, because the assumption on the part of the administration is even the lowest, dumbest, most uneducated white person is genetically better predisposed to doing well academically and to be more deserving
Mm.
than
Mm.
the brightest and the best Black person,
Yeah, I think we've gone back 100 years.
at least.
You
Mhm.
know, in terms of this thinking, it's eugenics thinking.
Yes.
And hard work doesn't fit into these calculations.
No.
So, from an Australian academic point of view, we have a lot of Asian students. We have students from everywhere, but a lot of Asian students. Um, and there's big numbers from India and Pakistan and so forth, and then Southeast Asia. Now, they work so hard once they're in the university system, and some of the scholarship students from English-speaking parts of Africa too,
Mhm.
right? So they're on tiny scholarships, and they will walk to campus
Mhm.
for 3 years to send that extra $20 back to their families. They work at it. Now, I guarantee you, Australia, our equivalent of the Ivy League is sandstone universities. So we have a few of the big sandstone universities that are slightly different story. But in the majority of universities, if you go onto a campus in the recess, you won't see a white face.
Mm,
It will be all the other students working right through that recess,
wow.
right? Because they know if they lose their scholarship, it impacts their family. This is their one-time opportunity to change the family fortunes. And they work so hard.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that's invisible to the outside. That doesn't get measured anywhere,
Right, right,
is what I'm saying. Yeah.
right. Well, I mean, here it is just a dumbing down and a turning back, as you say, of the clock in every conceivable way. Did you know this? 300 million Black women are no longer in the workforce. Now, how did that happen? Did they all kind of up and quit? No. It's because civil service jobs, federal workers, as they're called,
Mm,
those jobs were always historically seen as really solid jobs
for
for
life.
for life for Black women. So
Yeah.
you have a good income, you've got good health care,
Yeah.
you'll have a pension, etc. Well, those jobs are eliminated. I think this is not so much 47 as it is his master project 2025.
Mm,
Because I think the goal is to push Black people out of the workforce
mm,
so that now I mean, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, you're not in the workforce. And then have AI take up whatever slack it can take up.
mm.
And then, because you still have to feed your family, you could be the one picking the tomatoes in the tomato
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that that's the plan. It is
And also, it's part of I think, a broader umbrella, which is complete ignorance of what government jobs are and
right,
who they serve, and they're belittled.
right,
And so it's seen as an opportunity in this case to fire a lot of Black women, but also anyone in the work that it's not seen as expertise. And
right.
every functional democracy, and this is why America's now falling out of that category, is you have your nonpartisan ongoing government employees
Right.
who, it doesn't matter if they're in the water department or the thing or in the Department of Health or something, they know that world better than anyone else,
Right,
regardless of who's in power.
right.
That is consistent. So services are delivered in a consistent way. And the undermining of every role in this is so destructive
Well, and some
to the
of it's
country.
calculated and some of it is just straight sloppy. Because as you said,
Yeah.
a lot of those civil servants, they have expertise in their particular area.
Yeah.
Now, either the job doesn't exist or you just fling anybody in there as long as they're white and they get the job. The
Mm,
FBI now apparently is being gutted.
mm.
Why would you get the FBI and then in order to replace them with loyalists when the loyalists do not have the skill set that these FBI people had that you just got rid of?
And what gets me, Erica, with these huge departments that are being gutted and replaced, it's not even as though they find a loyalist who's been in that department for years, but it is at a lesser level, so you put the loyalist up here. Everything from Mr. My Pillow to the wrestling woman, Linda McMahon, in
Did
charge
you
of
say
education.
did you say nice things about him? Did you put money in his coffers? You qualified.
But this is cronyism. This is Banana Republic. This is a failed state
Failed state.
thing.
It is a failed state.
And I don't know, I really hope the Dems are keeping a running tab on every federal sacking and so forth, should they be able to get back in, and that's another whole scenario, to replace before it totally falls off the map as a first world country. I don't think that's too dramatic.
It's
You
not,
can't function without an independent government,
no, it's not,
department. I mean.
it's not too dramatic. And I'll tell you, I think that we are in the middle of a cold civil war right now. That's
Yeah.
what I think. And I think it'll get warmer as our weather gets cooler, the war will get hotter. And and in terms of Democrats, I'm always touched by people from who are not American early on in this process who were so sure that government some kind of way would catch the ball.
Yeah.
Um, it's not going to happen. That's why Kamala Harris said when she said the system is broken, she didn't
Oof.
just mean the GOP. She didn't even just mean the electoral system. You've got people on all sides who are in it for themselves. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You
Mm.
look at the age, the average age, and I'm not an ageist. I mean, I would have no business being an ageist. But
No.
what about how are young people being trained up by being
Mm.
put in these positions, supported to run for these positions? Why don't you old people, you could whisper in their ear and guide them and help them, but they
Mm.
won't do it. They won't pry their almost dead
Yes.
hands from the lectern,
Mm. Mm.
So we've got that going on. We've got now ICE. Apparently they're gonna blanket New York City now with ICE agents. That's not gonna go well.
No. No, it is not. I just read yesterday, I think it was, to lure in new ICE agents. Did you see that?
$50,000.
$50,000 to sign up.
And if you have like a student
College debt.
loan, it will be forgiven. Now, you know what? That will make many a very good person say, I
Oh,
hate what's going on. I don't, but,
yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 It's
that, you know what?
so insidious and dangerous.
The American SS. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be the police or the fire department this will be, or even the military. It will be his own personal black shirt unit.
It's fully scary.
It's very scary. It's very scary.
Yeah. You know, I, and then you've got Christy Noam at the head of that.
Right.
It's, we're going to look back in history, surely, at the pantomime that masks the horror of this regime. You know, here's the only bit of positiveness, I think, which comes attached with a lot of pain. I think the only thing that might kill this regime is the tariffs.
Yeah.
So
I
you have Project 2025 and the mystery figures and not so mysterious figures. They've got the puppet in thing, but he's got this bit between his teeth with tariffs, which is imbecilic by any normal calculations. They can't control him on the tariffs. So I think the best the US can hope for, which will involve massive inflation, recession, stagflation, all the economic horrors, might be the only thing that ultimately saves the country.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've got back to school coming. So that means you got to buy clothes for your kids, school supplies, all of that. They're going to be through the roof. Then we have Thanksgiving. The food prices are going to be out of control. And
Mm,
then Christmas and Hanukkah.
mm, mm, mm.
And this is when people who say they don't watch the news, they don't pay attention, they're going to pay attention when the cash register is rung up.
Kerching.
Ka-ching. Right. And I think that they will. I agree. I think, and it's sad to say that people,
It's terrible what is coming economically.
yes, that people's pain could very well be the catalyst for the cure.
And it's possibly the only catalyst.
Right. Because here's what it's not. Epstein. That's not the catalyst.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we were just saying off camera, anyone who was in New York knows what Trump was like then and now, and
Exactly.
Epstein. These are not new images. And that whole Wall Street Journal drama about a birthday card.
Right.
Are you for real?
Right.
Democracy is on its knees and you're fluffing around with a birthday card.
Well, you know what? We are a very odd country well, in many ways, but here's one in particular that people may or may not know, which is that we definitely have quite a Puritan streak. I mean, they don't
Yeah,
call it
it's
Puritan
weird.
thing. Right. So we have this very hypocritical uh, perspective about all things to do with sex. We
Mm,
find it titillating and prurient and all of that, but we don't want to be caught looking at it or talking about it or thinking about it.
mm.
Meanwhile, it's really holding our attention. And that's
Yeah.
why everybody's, all about this. And Trump, who nothing, if nothing else, he knows he knows how to work a crowd.
Mm,
And he knows when it's working and when it's not working.
mm.
Nothing is new about this situation at all.
No,
So
no.
what's the deal? I mean, what are people upset about? Is it the fact that we don't have the list? Well, we know who's on it. I mean, we know.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look at the picture.
Someone's got the flight logs,
Exactly.
you know, um, in terms of investigative
Yes.
journalists or whatever.
Yes.
That is the list. There
Well,
might
that
be
is
another
the list.
list, but that is the list, right?
That
And
is
I'm just being devil's advocate for a minute. If you're an A-lister, there's going to be photos of you with all sorts of people, like
right.
it doesn't necessarily mean you're on the island
No,
taking advantage and abusing underage girls. So, uh,
but you're going to be afraid that you will be tainted by that association is the thing.
mm,
Now, apparently, did you hear about the tape? There was supposedly the tape of Epstein's cell, and they couldn't find a minute of it.
yeah,
Well, now then it turned out it was 3 minutes. Well, now they actually found the tape. Did you hear about this?
no, I haven't.
Oh my
Oh,
God, they found the tape, and it looks like so here's Epstein's cell, and he's right a little bit away from a stairwell, and then there's the cell. There in the tape, somebody is going up the stairwell towards his cell. The person is dressed in orange, so it's a
as
prison.
an inmate, okay.
Mhm. And then and then nothing. Now, but here's the big part. The tape that they found, because people, who are looking will find some things because they're sophisticated. The tape has been spliced, doctored, redubbed, all kinds of things in an effort to make it look innocent.
Mm,
It's not innocent. So I suspect someone was paid to go in his cell, do the deed,
mm,
leave.
yeah,
Trump's been asked point blank, did you kill him?
mm,
He said, no, I didn't kill him. Now, instead of just leaving it at that, like, why would
mm,
what? It's like a kid,
yeah,
did you eat that cookie? Well, no, but when I opened the cookie jar, it
yeah,
fell out right into my mouth.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
like that.
like that.
So he said, no, I didn't kill him, but a lot of people wanted him dead. Why are you
Mm.
adding that little piece?
And this is why he must be a nightmare for his own perverted handlers,
Right?
because he's completely unreliable.
Right. That's right.
And then, of course, he went on that riff about, no, I fell out with him because he stole my underage girls. I mean,
Well, this is the thing.
going, no.
Well, see, but this is the tip of the iceberg that
Mm,
some people are talking about it, but for some reason it doesn't seem to have made itself widely talked about in the mainstream, which is okay, he may have partaken of what Epstein had to offer, but
mm.
it's more than that. He was a purveyor himself.
Yes, he admitted to it in this sort
By
of
saying
context,
that.
you
Exactly.
know.
So people don't, the MAGA people who are now mad thought that he was going to uncover some big Democratic Pizzagate in the basement.
Yeah, yeah.
pedophilia ring with I don't know, Hillary Clinton holding a whip in chains or something.
Yeah, look, whatever they thought.
But I don't think that it bothers them particularly that he was a purveyor of children in a sense.
No, because this is part of the duality of Puritan America. Okay, so you have, I think it's about 10 states or something, where there is no minimum age for marriage. You just need your parents' consent. So the 32-year-old can rape the 12-year-old, but if mum and dad go, well, she's made her bed now and she can lie in it, she gets married. I mean, Loretta Lynn, the country singer, married at 14. This was not unusual then, and it's not unusual now. So they mask sexuality with this dressing up of a marriage when they can,
That's right.
you know. So that they, it's not a real moral position, it's a position of convenience.
Yep. Now, they talk about Pluto and Aquarius. I'm not an astrologer, but I do know Pluto and Aquarius blows everything up. And one of the things that's blowing up and showing, bringing to the light is exactly what you just said, this hypocrisy. And this hypocrisy, frankly, is woven through every part of American society, every single
Yeah,
part.
yeah. And so if you live in San Francisco or New York or somewhere, you can forget for periods of time
Mm,
what's going on in the middle. But it is pervasive north to south, east to west. It's like the red states forever have come out in the lowest percentiles for education,
right.
health, maternal mortality, every measure of dysfunction and disadvantage there, but they will line up again for more.
And it's because they were sold a bill of goods. And what's the bill of goods? Lyndon Johnson nailed it. Lyndon Johnson said, if you can convince the lowest white man
Yeah.
that he's
Oh,
better than a black man, he'll turn his pockets out for you and give,
yeah, yeah, you can pick his pocket.
you can pick his pockets. I mean, this
Yeah,
is Lyndon Johnson saying that.
I
He
know. And that era,
in that era, he
and
knew
it's exactly the
how
same.
wedded white people are to whiteness.
Mm,
And so the ones who are wealthy, the implicit message from them is you and I have something in common. You may not be rich, but we're
you
white
know what?
together.
Yes,
No
exactly.
doubt. Which is why it's a class thing. When people finally wake up, for example, Huckabee State, Arkansas,
Mm.
got that Shrek
Oh,
in Sarah Sanders
mm.
as the governor now. Well, they had some big storm out there. She asked for money from her good
Didn't
friend.
get it.
She didn't get it.
No, and she was the
His
spokesliar for him. No one was closer for 3 or 4 years. Got
right,
nothing.
right. Got nothing. So now, at some point, you would think the penny has to drop.
No, because then I was waiting, for the first big flood storm. On, then there won't be FEMA and people will know. I should have known better. I naively thought they'd notice. No, but suddenly FEMA have become demonized.
Yeah.
And
Now
so,
now he says, we're not going to get rid of FEMA. We're going to rebrand it. What?
yeah, it'll be the Trump Salvation
Yeah.
Unit or something. Okay. But, certain things don't change. I think it was North Carolina where the FEMA workers were actually surrounded by an armed mob. And all they were trying to do was get a teenage boy with a broken back onto a medivac. And they were threatened. We know where you're staying by a mob. What is that? And if this was in the most obscure, underdeveloped country, you'd go, oh, isn't that a shame? I hope things improve for them. It's like the veil has dropped and the whole world is seeing America in its underwear.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, as a Black person, and I have a lot of Black friends, and we all say this, it's a beautiful thing. Because we've always known America was in there in its underwear, but we had to act like, oh, that's a nice outfit you got on.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
exactly.
So I mean, when we say Black women, the 92%, we're drinking our water and minding our business. That's part of it, is that while everybody is starting to come to this realization, we've always known. So now we're just sitting back, waiting for everybody else to catch up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the catching up is painful, I suspect,
Oh,
because it's existentially threatening to look at
yeah,
yourself in this clear way. So a lot
exactly.
of people will refuse to do it and go back to sleep.
Yeah. And so the American narrative of the greatest country on earth for the home of freedom and all of that, which has never been the case for half an hour. But the narrative has been immaculately driven home into the every newborn baby, like
Yes.
this stuff. Where was I going with that? Oh, the point is the mythology has to be shattered because no country can progress unless it looks at the warts and all.
And you're a sociologist saying that. So you're talking about history. This is true for every country. If it's going to survive, it has to take an honest appraisal of itself.
And that is not comfortable and it's not quick
No,
in the sense because you have to have the realization, face up. If we look at it, just an analogy of alcoholism and having to say, my name is Lena and I'm an alcoholic or something, there's a reason that the 12 steps has that process and it starts with that,
that's right. Well,
right?
you know what? Take the Civil War. We never had the Confederacy say, my name is bigot and
Hmm.
I'm a racist.
Yeah,
We never
hasn't
had them
happened.
do that. In fact, in the 50s, in the 1950s, is when those Confederate statues in the South were put up. Those things
Mm.
were put up back in 18 whatever. They were put up in the 1950s as a warning to Black people,
Mm.
also as a message to white people, which is we'll be back. We'll be back.
Absolutely. And in fact, because I watch people like Trey Crowder
Mhm.
and Tennessee Brando and stuff, because their voices are important because they're from the redneck
Correct.
heartland. Individually, they've chosen a different path, but they know it. They're
Right.
surrounded by it, they live it. And as Trey Crowder would say, he will walk up to someone with a Confederate flag on a flatbed truck and say, do you know you lost the war? Do you actually know you lost? Because they don't.
I don't.
In their heads, like you say, just poise coming back, this is just a hiatus for them winning that war.
And this was a bad mistake that Abraham Lincoln made. He said, because this was discussed, they
Mm,
really did debate this. Should they really hold the South to account in such a way that the message would be received? This is not done here. We're not going to do this. You all were wrong. And he said, nah, well, let's let them up. Let's let them up easy.
mm.
Let them up easy.
And 300 years later, here we are
Here we are.
because of skipping that moment.
Yes. Yes.
Because it wouldn't have happened overnight, but if it was deliberately supported by the education system and other things, and this terrible Trump stuff that we're in now, do you remember? Because everything happens so quickly, but that bizarre attack that's still going on to literally remove successful Black people from every government department,
Yeah.
memoir,
Yeah.
historical
Yeah.
record. It's retro.
Yeah.
They're going back
Yes.
to remove everything. It'll be
And
womenning.
they
It'll
know
be
that
womenning.
right. They know what it looks like, but they don't care because they're thinking They're thinking proactively. They're thinking people are laughing at us now and thinking, but there will be generations of kids.
Who won't know there was a
You
successful
know,
black
in the
person? Yeah.
South, they still teach the Civil War as the war of aggression.
Mm.
And that would be Northern aggression, by the way.
Yes, yes.
The war of aggression. What planet are we on? Which century are we on? But
I know.
that's what they do.
Mm, mm. And it's the same in New Zealand. There's been a 40-year advocacy movement, amongst a million other things,
Hmm.
to change how history labels the colonial wars as the Maori Wars.
See?
So, right.
Mhm.
Okay. So the fact that people were arriving on ships and shooting your tribe, didn't it?
Well, they
No,
say the
the
victors write the
Maori
history
Wars.
books. The victors write the history books. That's what they say.
Sure,
That's what
sure.
they say.
And you look, it's the same in Australia, same but different. And the vocabulary of the brave settlers and stuff
Mhm.
everywhere, not protagonists in a horror show,
Yeah.
you know. Whereas I think people 200 years on, if they're well taught, are perfectly capable of understanding the struggles that those people might have experienced, but why were they there and what was the context and who suffered the most? I mean, you can't
You know what, though?
get away from it, but
I
they
have a
do.
term for that. I call it cultivated cluelessness.
Oh, I love that.
It's
I'm
cultivated.
going to write it down if I may borrow it. Cultivated clues.
They fertilize it, they water it, they make sure it gets enough sun, they probably talk to it. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cluelessness. That's why, again, with this drinking my water and minding my business, people will say, explain it or duh, duh, duh. This has been explained over and over and over again. Nothing that we're saying is new. But people
No.
will say, I never knew. I didn't occur to me. No, yeah, you did. The
Mm,
question now is, let's say you didn't. Okay. You're listening now. How are you listening? Are you listening in an earnest, again, proactive, action-oriented way, or are you listening in a performative way where you
mm,
tell yourself, well, I listened, that's enough. And now it's
mm,
gonna just fly out of my head. I did a collab with Violetta.
mm,
And so somebody comes in my YouTube and they said, oh, that ought to be interesting. I can't understand a word she says, but she's a nice lady. This is also what I mean by cultivated cluelessness.
mm,
If you pay attention, she's not speaking Polish, she's speaking
mm,
English. If
mm,
you pay attention, you understand what it is that she's saying. But instead, it's sort of performative listening. Like I'll look like I'm listening, but I'm
mm.
not really, really listening. You see what I'm saying?
And this is a thing because I've had a life that's tangential to the film industry in Australia. I won't go into why, but
Ooh,
now for anything to be
you're a movie star?
accepted, accepted in the US film or television market, it has to be in English and preferably accent free. Right. And if you look, because there's an unwillingness to
It's
engage with
cultivated. It's
something
cultivated. If
cultivated.
it's not
Yes.
immediately, you know what? For example, I had kids that I would teach, and and they would have all these names that so some of the names the parents made them up.
Mm.
And because it wasn't Susie and Jim and Jane,
Yeah, people
teachers,
glass over.
yes, they don't stop, take a beat, ask the kid again how to pronounce
Yeah.
it, write it down phonetically, go
Yeah.
home and practice it so that
Yeah.
you're not calling that child out of their name the next time
Mm.
you call attendance. It's
Yeah.
respect. But cultivated cluelessness says, can I just call you Jay for short? And
Yeah.
the kid who does not want to be called
Yeah. Who
Jay, like
doesn't want to rock the boat says, yeah,
yes.
fine.
And meanwhile, you've chipped away at that kid's being.
Mm.
But you're comfortable because you get to call them Jay. White
Yeah.
comfort is I think it's more important than it's a higher priced currency than cold hard cash, white
Mm.
comfort.
Yes.
If you
And
go,
perhaps that's a good substitute for, well, it's a twin of fragility, which we
yeah.
were just talking
We were
about 10
talking
minutes ago.
about fragility. There's a great book by Robin DiAngelo. I think she did a great job. She's white, and she wrote this book called White Fragility. I've given it to people, and white people, and I've had them their backs go up because of the name. I said, "Well, you're just proving her point." But anyway, the reason that I don't like the word
Mm,
fragility is the word that we use for flowers and babies and puppies
mm,
and kittens. You have to take care of things that are fragile if they're to survive.
mm,
But fragility, in a racial sense, can be weaponized, like white
mm,
tears can be
mm,
weaponized.
mm,
See what I'm saying? So, this cultivated cluelessness is all part of it. And the thing is, these suits of armor, whether it's fragility, whether it's cluelessness, whatever, are absolutely of no use in this new world that we're entering into. If
mm,
people can't take that armor off, be willing to see things with new eyes, be willing to listen, be willing to talk amongst themselves.
mm,
Like,
mm,
don't ask me to explain it all. T- t- Talk to your friends. Do your
mm,
white friends, have these conversations? No, they'll say. And I'll say, well,
mm,
there
mm,
you go. So you'd probably love it if I came as a guest speaker so that you could performatively listen, serve tea and cookies,
mm,
pretend it's a book club, and then the minute I'm done and leave, you're right, snap like a rubber band right back to where you were. But proud
mm,
of yourself because you listened performatively.
mm,
People will get angry at me saying stuff like this, but that's a sign of that weaponized fragility. Because see, to me, if you're mad, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't hurt
mm,
me. That's a
mm,
you problem. That's not a me
mm,
problem. What are you going to do with being mad? Why are you mad? Don't ask me to have a dialogue with you about it.
mm,
Dialogue with yourself in the mirror. Dialogue with your friends down the block, your white
mm,
friends. Why am I reacting this way to what she's saying? Because she's making me uncomfortable. Discomfort will not kill you, but cultivated cluelessness in the end could kill us all.
oh, yes. Now there's a quote for the ages. Yes, exactly. And the inability to project the other ramifications. So someone might be well intentioned and listen to this and understand that that's hard, but they don't make the connections about how exhausting it is
Right.
to deal with racism on a daily basis. I can be an advocate wherever I can be an advocate, but at any point I can have a day off from that.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
I'm acutely aware that I could have a day off when someone else can't.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to the whole visibility thing.
Exactly.
And once the hierarchy of race is established, you can't take a rest from that.
No,
And that's why they wonder why people get short-tempered, a bit crabby, or this. It's cumulative.
right. Well, though people will say that they'll say black women are angry.
Yeah, you hear it a lot.
Well, okay. And is that going to kill you?
Mm,
Is that going to can we have our feelings or we're not
mm,
allowed to do that too? Or are
mm,
they hearkening back to slavery when it didn't matter if you were had cramps or just given birth or had a
mm,
migraine or whatever, you had to have a smile on your face and serve your
mm,
why must we smile and be pleasant? Why must we say things in ways that you will find palatable? Because it doesn't work the other way around. Let me just hasten to say
yes, that's the point.
it doesn't
That's
work.
the point.
Yeah,
And people say, so uh, it's it's disappointing to say the least that things you could argue progressed for a few decades, not across the board, but there were improvements. But now we're back in this 40s, 50s trope of everyone re-racializing,
That's
if
right.
you like, through the Mexicans and the black community. Um, and why, well, to answer my own question, it's the visibility issue. You can hide being gay, for example, as many did for hundreds of years, by getting married and having kids and having to risk legal repercussions of being discovered at a beat or something. But nonetheless, you could present at work
Right.
as a straight person. It's always about visibility,
That's right.
so,
I think that's why, these conversations are really important. Are we solving the world's problems? No, we're not. But what we are doing is modeling how to have conversations about topics that too many would just assume.
yeah. And I would encourage people to have these conversations within their own racial group and take it from there. I remember when Obama was first in, he was interviewed, and because he had an extraordinary childhood by most
Yeah.
admissions, the Indonesian connection, the Hawaiian connection, then he would go back to his white grandma who was she in
Kansas,
Kansas? Yeah,
Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah.
And he said one of the saddest things, because he was talking about being a late teen, i.e., a young black man. And she said, yes, I feel afraid when I see black men.
His own personal grandmother.
His grandmother.
Mhm.
What she was saying in the context of, but I love you, but I feel afraid. And as he told the story,
It's pain.
and this is the endless encounters with this that erode the ability for so many black people to have their best lives, because no matter what you do, there's this other stuff
Right,
crashing in, and
right.
often in unexpected places. If you're in if you were driving down Route 66, and you'd be on guard, and
No, no, I
it's
think that Black people are always, to some degree, on guard. I think
have
because
to be.
you have to be, or else psychologically you wouldn't be able to uh, survive.
But why I think this is important in light of our broader conversation, this is where the anger comes from.
That's right. It's
It's
exhausting. It is
you
exhausting.
didn't pull it out of your bra,
No,
right? It's real life.
yeah.
And people just don't understand that extent of exhaustion. I'll finish there on that point. Like it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And of course, people will say, well, my life's exhausting too, because da, 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 da. We've got to now we're going to compare oppressions. I'm not saying other people are not exhausted, and I'm not saying that
And struggling and all of that.
struggling. And these are exhausting, difficult, hard times for everyone. All of that's true. But we can sit and we can listen and we can witness what somebody says their experience is without having to feel as though it's somehow a commentary on our experience or a belittling of our experience. You know,
And
listening is
also, I think where the institutions sit, because how do you view the police? So
yeah.
most white people are conditioned to view the police. That's who you call, something that like,
No, you know
and
what? I have I read Lenormand, right? And so one of the cards in the Lenormand deck is the dog. And the dog is the card for your siblings, cousins, friends, nurses, social workers, um, uh, any the firemen, and the police. Anyone who is a helper. So
mm,
I remember in my book, I was like, because I let everybody know the meanings of the cards, but I had to, I borrowed from your snark box.
great.
And I said, for some of us, this meaning may sound a little odd, but this card is meant to be for also standing for the police.
Mm.
Protect and serve is what
Mm.
they write that on the car doors. That's the motto of the police: to protect and to serve. To protect whom and serve whom?
Yeah. Against who?
Against whom? Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm. And that's
it-
exhausting too.
exactly, exactly. And within the health system,
Mhm.
how you are treated, are people actually listening to what you say, this issue of listening, going, oh, here we go.
I saw a thing on Instagram, and it was a black woman, and she started this thing. It's so cute. It's called the We Do Not Care Club. Have you seen her?
No, I love it.
You got to
I'll just
look.
write it down. Yeah.
The We Do Not Care Club with chapters all over the place. And so she's menopausal, and so there's certain things we don't care about. Like um, as soon as we get home, we're going to take off our bra because we don't care.
You're right.
If it's freezing in the winter and it's blowing snow in the house, the window's still going to stay open because we're hot and we don't care.
Yeah.
Well, she's very, very
Yeah.
funny, really funny, just like a regular woman. But she came on yesterday and it was just so moving. She said, I'm coming here to my We Do Not Care Club membership that she started to say that she had been having hot flashes and not sleeping and went to the doctor. It was a specialist for this kind of thing,
Mm.
white male. And he said, well, your levels are fine, so just go back to your regular doctor and in 6 months and and we find this with pain as well. There's this assumption
Yeah.
we don't feel the same kind of pain. You know where that comes from? Think about it. Think about this. You are a slave and being treated all kinds of bad ways.
Mm.
If you're the person doing the bad treatment, wouldn't you have to say to yourself, oh, they don't really feel it? It's like what we say about fish. Well, you see, people go fishing. Now there's the fish wriggling. What do you think? It's dancing?
Mm. Yeah.
It's in its death throes.
You've actually gone to the absolute core of what it's about because it's empathy doesn't cut it. It's being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes for a nanosecond, whether it's a slave owner or whatever. And that's what hasn't happened and why it's got to this stage. And just a quick convict story along that line. The convicts were whipped with the cat and nine tails. So for every lash, it was 9 lashes, right? And there's a story my brother told me, um, which was one of the Irish prisoners. He turned to the guy who was about to give him the flogging and he said, whip me fair, not my neck. Okay, because he knew if he was flogged, if it went to the neck, it'd. And the man put down his whip. He went away, he came back and delivered the flogging. But just that moment,
Moment. Yeah. And that,
mm,
I think that's what you just said about that moment. If we can have those moments where instead of leaping into the breach to have your say and to justify if we could just take a moment and in the space of that moment, see that other person as a human being, the moments could grow wider.
yeah,
Maybe we could get
they're
some.
the illumination in the darkness. And the worst atrocities that are going on in our time and historically could all have gone in different directions if people would take that moment.
Just a moment. Exactly. Exactly. Well,
Mm.
Lena, I'm glad that we had this moment, this hour.
Mm. I can't believe the hour's just
I
flown
know.
by.
I treasure our time together so
Mm.
much. And thank you for the way that you listen. I appreciate that.
Mm. And thank you for being you and holding the flame. And so, look, I hope that this ongoing dialogue gives people ideas.
That's
in terms
all
of
we're trying
talking
to
to
do.
others.
That's all we're trying to do. We're not even saying think like we think, agree with
No,
us. No,
or this is the solution, catch up. No,
no, no.
no, no.
Just this is we're just showing you this is what it's like with two people from very different backgrounds who live on the other sides of the world from each other can take a moment to see each other, see the world, and you know, I don't know, lend some light, some
Yeah,
grace.
yeah, yeah. And we owe it, I think, in the big picture. So much wrong has been done historically everywhere. We owe it to future generations to try
That's right. That's
our
right.
best,
I
just to
say this
try.
a lot is that we may not see the change that we want to see in our lifetimes, but like the people who came before us who knew that they wouldn't either, you still
Yeah.
do the work because maybe one day down the line, things will be
It might even be from the Bible to plant a tree where you will not sit in its shade.
better. Yes, perfect. Exactly.
Mm.
And
Mm.
but a lot too many people are like, wait a minute. If I'm not going to benefit from the shade of that
There
tree,
you go.
I'm not,
Exactly.
you can't.
Exactly. So it's that leaping forward.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, I love you. I love our time together, and we will do it again in our fall, your spring.
Yes. And hi and bye to the audience. Thank you for
Yes,
coming
thank you
by.
all. Thank you all. And so nothing's tomorrow. This was the Sunday conversation, but we're having it on a Saturday, and we'll see everybody on Monday. So take care.